We asked Meg McGuire, Assistant Professor of the English Department and Instructor of English 413, Topics in Writing, Social Media, what are the effects of social media on student writing and communication?
I think we kind of forget sometimes about social cues that we get, kind of the situation, the context in a physical way. And so we don't think about, we're kind of thinking in 140 characters and trying to be witty, and sometimes there's just not a place for that. But in some ways, it's kind of broadened what we talk about outside of those spaces as well. We kind of become more familiar with what's happening in the world, and so we can talk more culturally. And it gives us kind of a shared point, I think. We can often say, hey, did you see that article, or did you see that meme? And that kind of helps bring people together. So in that way, it helps us in a good way off those spaces.
How do our social media habits, even the jargon, translate into the academic environment?
What I do think, from social media I think does transfer into school papers or schoolwork is that quickness and maybe that lack of taking a second to look over things. So because you can do a Facebook post very quickly or a tweet very quickly, and you want to do it quickly because there's a time aspect to it, you don't take the time to look over it. And I think that's what's happening with student work, is that they're just writing it, getting it done, submitting it, and not taking a second to look over it.
Is there anything positive we can get out of our constant social media use?
I do think in some ways, if we want to look at the writing process for students, I think social media can be helpful as well in ways that we haven't quite started to investigate yet. So I think it helps students to think more concisely and kind of get their point across in smaller sections. I think it's kind of broadening where they get their research, which can be helpful too. They're kind of thinking outside the box and maybe looking for those experts on Twitter. Like if they're writing a paper about the environment, they can look up Bill McKibben on the environment and see what he has to say and the links he's sharing. So I do think that there's a lot of positives that are coming out of students using social media as well.
The Writing Center is a resource on campus students can use to better their writing. We asked students, where exactly is the Writing Center? Only a few knew for sure. Excuse me, do you know where the Writing Center is?
Maybe in Memorial? I don't know, sorry.
Thanks. Sorry.
Do you know where the Writing Center is?
It's in Memorial.
The basement?
Basement, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I think it's down, where is it? It's down on Main Street, like near Gloss or something, like the building.
Oh,
yeah, it's like far down there.
Where the Writing Center is?
Yeah, it's downstairs.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it's downstairs in the basement at the media center. It's for like I work at the Writing Center, so I'm biased responding.